Hi decoders. This week we're decoding something every one of us encounter, but most of us are kind of blind here. So we felt compelled to crack it open. Dun 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 dun. Hi, I'm Kiran Trace. Welcome to Humans Decoded, a story of hobbits, fairies, elves, dwarfs, gnomes, and humans. If you get lost at any point, there is a deep dive on all the different avatars in episode 1. It includes notes. Thank you for joining us in a fun little chat about the vast potential of our human makeup. Hi, Leela. Hi, Cami.
Hi. Hi, Queens. Hi.
We're talking about clothing and how often we choose clothes by rote. Even if we think we're being super conscious, it's really interesting how subtle the play of rules on our system is, and the play of like identity and separate self and lack of awareness and blindness. Like, it's really an interesting subject, and hopefully you'll stick with us, and hopefully the patterns at play here get decoded and illuminated, all of us together. So let's go for it.
I still have so much enthusiasm for this episode, and I can't wait to get into it. Like, I'm a big fan.
Fashion.
Because I think I've never been as sort of uninvolved in what does my body look like or what am I wearing as I am these days. And it's mostly sort of a no thing, as we like to call it. Like, it feels like getting dressed, for instance. It's sort of something that does itself. There's not a thinking about it involved. However, speaking of layers, just last night I got dressed to go out for sushi with my cousin Diana, and I was putting on these summery flowy plants. They're light, they're airy, they're delicious. And then I noticed that I sort of saw a bump of my bum through the fabric. And there was a thought of like, oh, should I care about this? Like, is this a problem that needs my attention, or do what? So I was standing there in front of the mirror, and I remembered all the years I was so caught up and so preoccupied with how my body looks, how my clothes fit, like what I wear, whether it's sexy or not. So yes, please, this episode. Gimme.
I mean, The Devil Wears Prada 2 just came out, so maybe it's timely that we're talking about fashion. But Kieran's right. It was kind of hard to put our finger on it, because it's almost like there's no area it doesn't touch, because it's sort of how we present ourselves. And as for myself, I have been through many clothing metamorphoses. Also, I'm a fairy, so let's change costume all the time. Yay! But I think my journey probably started out trying to fit into Latin culture, which just meant wearing what the cool kids wore. And then I went through this ultra hobbit kind of burlap sack phase where I had just found spirituality and was low-key traumatized about the fact that I even had a body. So I used to shop in like organic stores and bought into organic fibers and bamboo this and sustainable that. And not that there's anything wrong with it, but you know, as a fairy or just as this being, it didn't actually fit me well at all. In fact, I suspect it was my don't belong pain body that was just trying to like blur me into the background. And my takeaway from that phase was just browns, like so many browns.
You know, I just love the experience of someone putting on clothes that don't actually match their identity of themselves, and how like wildly uncomfortable that can get. Like, just sort of just awkward feeling, even if the clothes are beautiful and fit really well. Like, there's this still it's awkward feeling inside of it if it clashes with who you present yourself as. And sometimes it's like, no, this feels nice. And then as soon as you like step onto the street, or, you know, it can even just be as simple as like a jacket, you know, like this is very unusual for me to wear this kind of a jacket, but I really like it. And I put it on, and then it's like, Actually, no, I take it off. And I think that's across both genders, men, women. And I think we really see it very strongly with children. So often it's our identity picking wardrobe pieces because it's how we want to be presenting ourselves. And I just think it's fun to crack it open and explore it together.
Yeah, totally. Like, remember that beautiful crochet coat you gave me, Kiran, many years ago? It was a white sort of kimono style coat, gorgeous. But at the time, all I was wearing was black clothes. And I thought, this is beautiful. I see it, but so not me. Like, I'm not wearing white. Like, thank you for this delicious gift, but I don't see why you think this is me. And now, just as you're saying it, it just didn't fit my identity at the time. I was the one wearing black clothes, not white, sort of airy things. And yeah, that's exactly what it was, because now it's one of my favorite pieces to wear, and I have more of these beautiful kimonos in many colors.
Something else I want to mention in the context of clothing is like sports. And uniforms and things like that, like matching, the team's identity, or matching the sportsmanship identity. Like during the Olympics, I was watching, the way that the Olympic athletes were dressing, and it struck me as being so inappropriate, like aggressively inappropriate, that the athletes are forced to dress in a certain way. And there's many layers to that. One is a discrepancy between women athletes and male athletes, and the women athletes, all the athletes competing are being forced to wear that. They're dictates from the Olympic board. And like, for example, in volleyball, the women, they wear bikini bottoms, and it's dictated by the Olympic Committee that the fabric on the bikini from the hip cannot be more than 3 inches long. So 3 inches of material from your hip is all that bikini is allowed to be. Like, that's freaking tiny. And it really impacts, I think, the women's ability to play full out. The men are not being dictated to wear these tight fitting bikinis. They're allowed these baggy, free flowing shorts that can go all the way down to their thighs, Anyways, I think it blocks a full capacity to embody the activity.
Yeah, in the summer, we were watching these female surfing competitions on the TV. And all the girls were showing up wearing thongs, like the girls that were surfing in the competition were wearing thongs. And in some ways it was a little disappointing, like, oh, I thought we'd come so far and this is the priority, like showing off your butt. And I mean, although there's been a lot of evolution, it seems we're still subscribing to a lot of norms that probably don't serve us anymore. So these surf girls, signaling that they're still feminine by being in skimpy outfits, but do we still need to agree with this even when it's hindering our performance? And also, I work in the camera world, so I can observe what goes in that world sort of wardrobe wise. And there's a really big emphasis on practicality. So, Carhartt jackets, cargo pants, really quality outdoor jackets and gear. And I like to lean into it. I see it as an opportunity to kind of play dress up, like, ooh, I get to wear my camera uniform today. Here come the Carhartt trousers. Come to think of it, that world is predominantly occupied by men who in a way have the privilege to put comfort first. I think women have a lot of norms or rules when it comes to clothes that often bypass their comfort. It's almost the first thing to go out the window. I mean, I try to wear high heels. I don't know if anyone does, but there's a journey to go through. They're pretty painful to get used to.
Absolutely.
I will just say, if we're talking about high heels, men are better suited to be wearing high heels because they have straight hips. Women tend to have a wide hip, and then our hip goes narrow, wide, depending on our monthly cycles. So if anyone was wearing high heels, and if high heels are a thing, it should be men.
Bring it back, yeah.
I mean, speaking of uniform, I can see all kinds of uniforms across many different contexts, and I would say as an elf, I do love a uniform, like as long as it supports my freedom to move and inhabit whatever I want to do in the moment. But as we're saying here, it's often the opposite. Like, think of religious uniforms or rules about how to dress. Think of men and women in Orthodox Judaism. There are many super impractical rules about what to wear. I used to live in a neighborhood in Zurich that is very similar to Brooklyn in New York. And I'd see, the Orthodox Jewish men with their huge fur hats, and they would need rain covers when it rained, so the fur wouldn't get ruined. And as you can imagine, it rains quite a lot in Zurich. So for most of the time, they had to cover the hat. Or I also think of the Amish community where women wear these bonnets and lots of layers of skirts. And then they need to, make butter from scratch or milk the cows, all covered in so much fabric. To me, it seems like it's really hard to move. And I imagine it to be very, very uncomfortable. And of course, there's even more extreme versions of that, like the burqa, probably as you would pronounce it, comes to mind, the clothing rule in some parts of the Muslim world, where the woman is covered from head to toe, and there's only like a mesh window where her eyes are so she can see. And all of that just makes it really difficult to live one's chosen lifestyle.
So if we're going to be dressing from authenticity, then we're going to need to decode the belief systems we've subconsciously ingested and are choosing our wardrobes for us. We shape ourselves through all of our different belief systems, our baggages, our hang-ups, and we can feel really uncomfortable when we're like dangling out there outside of that. And I think if we're gonna go one level deeper to decode the next deeper level in, we're looking at the way unworthy or not good enough or not safe is just very subtly crafting a story of what we're supposed to look like. And I think it's a nuanced thing. Like, for somebody, it's not so simple as like, I feel unworthy, so I wear these burlap brown hobbit sacks. Sometimes it can feel like I feel unworthy, so I dress with very tight, revealing clothing. Or I feel unworthy, so I always wear a suit, and these dress shoes like my father or something. And so, in a way, these belief systems are over-focusing on the clothes and how our own baggage is playing that out is just something very fascinating to take a look at. And when we're trying to hit those more subtler belief systems, I think it's interesting to just like try something on that doesn't match your identity at all, and then feel the awkwardness and actually like step out, like go for coffee. And it's a great way to kind of catch those underlying very subtle layers that are playing on us.
I grew up with two sisters in a Latin family, and there was always so much concern about how you present in the world. And we had these like rules, like if you're going out to dinner, you can't wear denim. Like, denim isn't an appropriate like fancy dress fabric. If you're going to a cocktail party, it has to be below the knee, or I don't know, like, or the golf club, white shoes. And so there were certain roles we were supposed to play. And I mean, Latin culture has so many strong rules for women. I was out with my mom once, and And we bumped into an auntie at the car park, and she pulled my mom aside and whispered in her ear, "Don't ever let me catch you with that lipstick outside again." Like, for real. Or every time I go back to Guatemala, it's like open season on whether people can comment on my body. So they're like, "Oh my God, you look so skinny." Or if I've gained weight, they're like, "Oh, you've put on weight." And I can see how in emerging countries or economies like Guatemala, there's a huge onus on looking, very put together. So my cousins go to the salon every week to get their hair done. Everybody's very interested in wearing the right brands. The way you present is a way of marking your status in the world. And that seems like a very important thing, like a display of wealth. Compared to Bristol, for example, which, is a city in the UK, a very established economy, and people do not give a fuck how they present here. It's almost frowned upon to look too smart. It's like Birkenstocks all day. And I do find myself in this kind of pickle when my family comes to visit in the UK. They tend to stay in London, and my dad belongs to this members club where you're not allowed to wear denim. So every time I go to visit them in London, or actually anywhere in the world, I always have this panic of like, like, what are their rules again? Like, I have nothing fancy to wear. So I usually end up showing up like so awkward, or I'll kind of sort of pull together an outfit, like this shirt's kind of fancy, and I suppose this isn't denim, and this will do, and these shoes. But it, like, I feel just like Kiran said, like, I just feel so like out of sorts, like trying to play into, these rules.
I love, Kiran, that you're bringing up like these cultures that have these implicit, subtle rules around a lot of the oppression and segregation and disempowerment in various cultures. And so there's these, ways that, like, there's a, I think of African Americans with Black excellence as a fashion style. And, like, I think it's really true that there can be these subtle, or maybe just implicit cultural value systems from these belief systems embedded in there. There's personal layers that feed into that are so subtle, like there's an assumption, I think, for men or women, that you have to dress to flatter your shape. And underneath that, if we peel it up, there's a story of flatter. And flatter means look lean or thin, but not skinny. For the outfit to be flattering, you have to make your shape look standardized by these normative beauty standards. And I think there's these implicit rules around gender conformity baked into rules. If you're a woman, you need to have some kind of feminine signal in your clothes. So even if you're wearing a three-piece suit, even if it's like a three-piece suit and a necktie, there has to be a feminine signal. There has to be a feminine flair to it if you're a woman. And men really need that masculine signal. Like, men police other men so strongly around what they're wearing. There's such a thick conformity there. And so men have to be signaling masculine in their clothes. And I can, like, you can tell that you are subtly subscribing to these unconscious rules when you see someone who's not conforming. And when you visually see them, you'll get this internal kickback. So, for instance, there's a great example of, Jonathan Van Ness. He's an American influencer, a hairstylist. He has a show called Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. And he wears high heels. He wears very feminine dresses, usually feminine purses. But he has masculine signals. He's got a mustache, a very thick mustache, and a very thick beard, usually. And I think for a lot of people, when they first come across his images, his style, there's a feeling like that he's violated gender conforming rules in a way that kicks back in people's system. Like, if he wants to wear a dress and heels and purses, then he needs to shave that beard and mustache, and signal female, or if he's going to be signaling male, then he needs to be, like, lose the heels, lose the fancy feminine dresses. But subconsciously, we're adopting these rules Look flat, like make sure your clothes are flattering to you, and make sure that they're signaling your gender, and then make sure they're culturally appropriate, and then there's just these layers and layers.
And it's also dual, or also either or, either be fancy or be, I don't know, alternative, either be male or be female when it comes from our baggage. And as we're talking, I'm thinking of my two very heterosexual, very sort of traditional male brothers that I have. They're also both hobbits. And sometimes I see them in hoodies I think I remember them wearing when they were, 16 or 18 years old. They're now 40 and 20 something. So it's like clothes, a word I cannot pronounce, I'm sorry, do not exist in their world. And I think it has to do with the unconscious rule of, as a man, you do not think about clothes or how you dress. Otherwise, you're effeminate, and that is the worst thing you could be as a man. And I'm not saying that that's what's consciously going on in their heads, of course not, but it's definitely a groove, especially in the more, let's say, rural parts of Switzerland, and among farmers, among mechanics, among carpenters, which is the world of my brothers. And of course in the cities and among highly educated men, it's different, and there's a lot more freedom to play around with less stereotypical ways to inhabit, male.
Yeah, I mean, similar to Guatemala, men dress so conservatively there because to deviate is to succumb to the possibility of being labeled effeminate. And God forbid you show any self-expression if you're a man. I mean, not a rule I condone, of course. It's such a pity to have such a narrow lane to work with, but yeah, it's very restricted, like polo shirt, khakis, jeans, t-shirt, shorts, like that is it. Don't deviate.
I want to share a bit about how odd I was as a child and what baggage that created. So I was such an awkward child, and then it created this pain body that really wanted to belong to the cool kids at some point. Because, when I was, 9-10 years old, I had an aunt who was living in Ethiopia, and she would send me these Ethiopian clothes for birthdays and Christmases, and the odd child I was, I would wear them to school. And the other kids obviously made fun of me. Or I would also wear things my grandma wanted to give away, but I thought they're beautiful. So I wore it to school. You can see I was really living in my own bubble for a long time there. There was so little concern about what was trendy or cool. Like, I don't know if it also had to do with my mom never wanted me to dress like a princess when I was little. Or she didn't get me the all pink uniform I definitely did want. Or she would cut my hair short, etc. So I sort of grew up with this sense of, this isn't for me, I guess. I'm not that kind of person. I'm the smart one with the excellent grades. So who would care about clothes? And then I was quite free in what I wore until I was 12 or 13. And then this thing kicked in of, oh shit, I'm not cool. What are the cool kids wearing? And I just started school in Zurich, and I saw it as this opportunity to leave the odd child, the nerd, behind, and, reinvent myself in order to be liked. So I started to want to wear the very low-waisted tight jeans and the crop tops and all of that. Like, what's the costume to wear in order to be cool became my most relevant question. I was really concerned with fitting in and being normal, like dressing like the other girls. Because the belief system was, in order to be liked, in order to have friends, to be desired, I have to wear these types of clothes, like quite revealing, quite tight, quite uncomfortable. But yeah, she longed so much for fitting in, being normal.
I love the point you're bringing up here, Leela, because kids really hold these rules very, very strongly. They're little bossy pants. They amplify the rules that they've seen. They've seen them in their household, they've seen them in TV, they've seen them in the communities. They're very bullyish around conformity. So, if you don't know where those subtle rules are in your own self or in your household or in your own priorities, just check out your nieces and nephews or your own kid, and they'll point it out to you the very moment you cross that.
I also remember, feeling desperately awkward at school. And then I moved from Peru, because I was living in Latin America with my family, to London. And then I had this opportunity to reinvent myself. And I found out boys liked me. And it kind of woke me up to a different role. So when I got to my new school, I was a little terror. I kind of became the bully. I sort of harnessed the cool. I was like, I got it. You don't. Ha! And it wasn't so much about, expressing myself, but as Kiran was saying, that I knew the rules. Like, I needed all the cool clothes. So me and my friends would go to the mall and we'd go shopping, and it was like, this is life or death. You cannot get this stuff wrong.
Yeah, we inherit these subtle rules young, When I was a kid, I was very lucky because I have my grandmother. She's a human avatar. That's her blueprint. And she would buy a lot of my clothes. And she would buy me these very classic, very tailored, little bit fancy clothes, which were elevated for most sort of, kids at school, high schoolers, etc. And it made me cool. It armored, it protected me from all this clothing drama that you guys are pointing to. It was my uniform. And, because they were elevated and a little bit fancy and quite tailored, it sort of lifted me above it. Like, kids wanted to dress like that. And, I don't know, it's just the way that my grandmother armored me. And when I left the protection of her armoring, so this is sort of post-college, I didn't really know how to shop for myself. And I just let unworthiness go shopping for me in a very stereotypical way. So mine went to the sack of potatoes and that, very brown burlap. Mine was more on the puce green side, but sort of representing no color or nothing to make me stand out. Very much based on just avoiding clothing, avoiding the body, avoiding being seen, which ironically does make one stand out, because they're just so baggy and colorless, and often they were worn for so long they gathered a lot of holes and rips and tears. Just a mirror of pure worthlessness, which is very different than the armoring my grandmother gave me, the uniform my grandmother gave me. But I'll tell you, it didn't last for long. Because I woke up very, very quickly after that. And when I woke up into original nature, which was quite soon after that, I had this very cool moment where I was aware that these clothes were unworthiness, not truth. It was just very clear to me that this was not accurate. this everything in all my closets and all my drawers weren't it. But I didn't know where to go there. But of course, life took care of it, because it was like about 4 days after I had this awareness, I walked past a garage sale that was literally just 3 doors down from my house. I wasn't going to be able to miss it. The woman there was selling clothes, and they were my size, my shape, and she had this beautiful style, very elfy. And I just bought the entire wardrobe. I gave her $200, bought the whole thing. Life just fixed it. Put an entirely new wardrobe under me that was much more conscious and gosh, I love those clothes. And, you know, I love them 100 times better than even what my grandmother had chosen. So these clothes were so, I mean, the items themselves were so beautiful, but they so, I don't know, amplified my being. It was such a beautiful movement. And I also want to mention about 3 weeks after I first awoke to that original nature, very quickly, like 3 weeks, my body was 3 sizes bigger. And it was very cool because life gave me this luscious, gorgeous wardrobe that fit that size body. And it was just such a fabulous joy to dress this entirely new body.
My unworthy wasn't dressing me in potato sacks. It was doing the opposite. So I was dressing quite skimpy for years. And I would say that at some point, it did feel like a lot of freedom in wearing not much clothing and not being concerned about, how thin or not thin the body is. Like showing so much skin without needing to be super skinny felt like more freedom. Because previously there's been such a strong belief which said you must be very thin in order to wear certain clothes. So it felt like a massive relief to drop that old crusty coat and run around barely clothed. So I thought I was free to wear whatever I want, and it's not my business if men stare, because their reaction, it's not on me. I can wear whatever I want, and I don't have to deal with the reaction that comes from that. Because to me it felt like, oh, I'm just being, sexy for myself. I'm expressing my freedom this way. Nah, I was wrong. Because I realized my concept of sexy is completely based on the male gaze, like a deeply ingrained patriarchal gaze. And it's a bit embarrassing to say that, but I had no idea that that's where my idea of sexy or even attractiveness came from before I saw it. And even worse, but since we're, exposing shit, there was also a belief system inside of me that said, you do need this attention. You need male attention as a woman in order to be safe. Otherwise, you're not safe. You're not worthy. Like, to this belief system, attention, especially male attention, is currency. Like gold coins. Ergo, safety. And when I saw that, like really clearly saw, I was like, oh shit, no. I do not want this. I don't want to keep feeding this story. It's stupid. So that, for me, was a huge wardrobe shift. It shifted to just wearing what's comfortable and what supports me moving freely in any moment, and inhabiting the full expression of Leela in a moment, inhabiting my authentic capacity more and more. And of course it's all in a beautiful and elegant way, because I'm an elf.
Of
course.
Nobody's disputing that. I do remember the catsuit and skimpy shorts Leela phase, and I'm almost like a little sad, maybe even a little jealous that I didn't get to go through that phase. I think in part because I had Leela and Kiran's hindsight, so maybe it just, I don't know, it wasn't in my path to inhabit it. But I do recall Kiran saying once that there's a sexiness in just being comfortable. Like, you're not impeded in your actions. You don't have to think twice about what you're gonna show if you bend over, do a cartwheel at a moment's notice. And there's a beautiful practicality to it, and I think that did stay with me. And my journey to authenticity, as I've shared here, which is, ongoing, includes a lot of the pain body I don't belong. And it's just funny that not belonging had me wearing so much brown and dressing like a hobbit in the background. And nowadays it's just such a joy to wear color. The brighter and poppier and more bubblegum, the better. And also comfort is also huge. It's just an exhale. I don't want to be uncomfortable in my day. I almost feel like allergic to tight things now. And I love the way Gen Zers inhabit a very comfortable space. Like, oversized clothes or oversized blazers. And to me, it feels still like, very stylish. Like you don't lose anything. It's just very, very comfy.
Yeah, I love the Gen Z wardrobe. I like what you're saying, like you don't lose the style. I mean, those dudes have made just wearing frumpy slippers and pajamas and cardigans stylish, And I love their androgynous wardrobe. I love the asexuality of not needing male signaling or female signaling clothes, just unisex, These movements are just beautiful, I think, reactions to implicit rules of conformity that just are so subtle, but they block authenticity.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love how brands are catering to that more and more, to like the unisex and gender fluid wardrobe. Like that's super cool.
We have friends in our community, decoders, for instance, that kind of did a reverse journey in a way from yours, Cams, where like their internalized fashion rules had them dress in a sort of like really loud, so much bubblegum, so much sparkly, plus add acid wash. Like a good friend of ours whose wardrobe was basically screaming like, in case you missed it, I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay. Like a neon light with this pattern and color and texture vibing together at once. But it was such an amazing opportunity to get to be, that coach and watching them peel layers and layers and layers of unworthiness off. And then watching the same movement that was happening for me, where life just put a really gorgeous wardrobe up under them that ironically is so much quieter and was surprisingly conservative in its tailoring and shapes, and such a softer color palette. There was no more screaming of an identity. Instead, just very, very, very beautiful clothes that life put up under them, and this joy of loving to dress that way and loving to get dressed.
Yum. And it's funny when it's just sort of life dressing you or authenticity dressing you, and it's maybe much quieter than what your identity thought you should dress. Or it can be bolder and louder than what it was like in Cam's case. Like, ironically, it makes it so much more you than the identity would have allowed. Like, it's so much more you. And it just makes your uniqueness, obviously, your authenticity come through way more. For me, it feels like, oh, I've never dressed more like me than now, even though there's the least amount of me there ever was here. Like, in comparison, there's so little identity now compared to a couple of years ago. And it just makes the authentic Leela flavors shine or come through a lot more. Something my identity could have never ever imagined. It's so much more immediate and unfiltered, without the story of what should or have or must or,
Yeah, I think it's such an essential point you're bringing up. When we dress through our identities, these are our belief systems, these are our baggages, these are these subtle implicit rules we've picked up for ourselves. There's stress, there's a grip, there's pressure around clothes. There can be a blindness, and the blindness is also a stress. But when it's authentic, when it's that uniqueness of our being, it's actually very alive, and it's very fun, and it's playful, and it's open. There's just like ease and joy in the mix. And I think it's worth pointing out, like, it's not about like the money to buy these name brands, or no money to buy, or like what Cami was saying, like these organic hemp, like how identity can craft these things as if they were like, spiritual jewels in your crown. But it's an implicit rule versus the authenticity. So ironically, I think identities dressing us sometimes tell a story about empowerment, but it isn't. It's not. And I think a great example of that is like the lovely and beautiful Oprah Winfrey. In this moment in time, I think she really sells her personal style right now as empowerment. But there's a lot of stress in her in her dress style, in her style. I think she's basically screaming an identity that says, finally, I'm thin, but there are so many drugs behind the scene, which, fine, but there's also a righteous push, like these 5-mile hikes every single day. And of course, we don't see this natural aging process. There's a lot of effort going on to be empowered. So I think, in fact, scratch the surface, with Miss Winfrey, and you get the same. There's just not been a transformation. There's just been a flip.
And I love how we're pointing to in this episode, I think, that our wardrobes, they get to change throughout our lives, and it can change many, many, many times, and it comes from a place of authenticity, not a place of hunting, a trend or one of these fake transformations. And it makes me think of my mom, bless her, and how she, in a way, dresses the same since forever. She also lives in the story of you wear the same size clothes all your life, and she's not the only one subscribing to this. Like, I recently had this conversation with somebody else where I don't know what they said, but they were complaining about not fitting into their pants anymore, and I was like, well, I don't know what your problem is, just get new pants. Like, what's the issue? And I just saw the blank terror in her face, like, no, I cannot allow myself to size up. That would be the end. Like, I'll lose all control and my life will be gone, and I'm probably dying. So I saw that terror by just suggesting they could buy different pants. And I know though that there is a bigger freedom available, and my body is allowed to change throughout my life. I'm not bound to a size. Like, oh God, can you imagine? I'm not bound to a style. In essence, I'm not bound to an identity. Thank God. Like, there's a big liberation in truly sensing that. So in this sort of process on the journey to authenticity, with each layer of the pain body that calves off, to me it seems like I discover myself in a different light. I discover myself anew, and it's like, oh, so I'm not what I thought I was. So then what am I? What is this? Like, what's showing up right now? And as you're saying, Kiran, like, there's such a joyous curiosity to that, and a delicious freedom, and it gets to be reflected in my wardrobe. So yeah, there truly is no set position to hold forever.
Amen, sister. Pastor Leela giving it to us. I remember this moment very distinctly after I woke up to original nature. I was having breakfast and I noticed, oh, I have nothing to protect. It was like this facade of identity that had always been front and center suddenly disappeared. Like, there were so many less filters between myself and the world. And I can see how clothing is very much like that. We can use it as a defense or armor against the world, to hide or call forth our agendas, or it can be a thing of no filter, just what's alive in the moment.
Beautiful.
I think we dropped the mic right there, people, and as always, we'll be here next week with ya.
And if you want to leave a review, we're so grateful for those, because they help, our audience to find us, more decoders, to get together. And we talk next week.
Bye. So much love.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. We obviously love hearing what you think. Your feedback helps us make a better show for you to listen to. So feel free to comment, and you can do it at Facebook, which is the Humans Decoded podcast. And if you're not on social, you can always email any questions to us at outreach@kirantrace.com. And thanks for listening. We love you.